Yo, what's up, I'm Brian here, doing another video. Today we're gonna have a chit chat. We're gonna have a powwow, just you and me. I'm gonna talk about studio series because it seems like in the future we're gonna have a comic line thrown in. And I just wanted to share my thoughts, good, bad, pros, cons, concerns, and ooh. But first, let's establish what studio series is and the history behind studio series. I think when the Bumblebee movie was coming out, they didn't have a lot of designs to really work with. Yes, we have the Cybertron scene, but that was a late addition. So mainly we had Bumblebee, Shatter, Dropkick, Blitzwing, and Optimus Prime, I guess. Not really a big cast to make a movie line for. Of course, they had the One Steps and then the Allspark or whatever line, but as far as the mainline Generations, mostly I feel like they would just produce a bunch of deluxes. And so to remedy that, in 2018, they decided to produce Studio Series, which would incorporate the Bumblebee movie designs while also taking influence from the live-action series. Things like Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime or Blackout, the first live-action character to ever be seen on the big screen. And Hasbro themselves said that this line was dedicated to the live-action movies because it didn't really fit within any other Generations line. But then in 2021, things started to kind of mix. They decided to produce the 86 line, which celebrated the 1986 animated film, which still released in theaters, and it was the 35th anniversary, so you kind of understand what they're going for. But fans felt a little alienated because, oh, we have cartoon characters now with the live-action series. Going forward, we had Rise of the Beast, and respectfully, we got Transformers 1. But then they also produced the Gamer Edition line, which celebrates a whole other thing. I mean, it's still produced by a studio, but it's got nothing to do with the movies now. It just seemed like we were getting different things in Studio Series, so what is Studio Series at that point? So it continued to feel alienated, especially considering that some people were upset that, at least for the Michael Bay movies, we weren't getting a lot of the characters. So now introducing a comic line into it, a lot of people are kind of held back by that. But to me, I'm not as worried about it. It is kind of confusing because in the original Generations line, at least for, I think it was 2014, a lot of the characters were based on IDW designs, or at least a lot of those designs for the toys got into IDW. Take, for example, Combiner Wars. But I think what a lot of people miss is that Generations is an evolving line. It has continued to evolve, and Studio Series is technically still part of Generations. I mean, they always listed as Transformers Generations Studio Series. As far as the evolution of Generations, what I want to bring up, not just that comic series, the IDW line, but even before that, a lot of the Generations stuff was based on the Universe Classics line. And what they were doing was just modern takes of certain characters. You compare that to what Generation 1 characters they do now, and they look like the cartoon. Take, for example, if you take Universe Classics Sunstreaker, he looks a lot different compared to the Earthrise Sunstreaker. I also feel like they constantly have to refresh things as they go. I mean, again, you look at Generations, we had Siege, Earthrise, Kingdom, Legacy, and before that we had Power of the Primes, Combiner Wars, Titans Returns. Yes, I know, I'm not talking in order. I'm just saying all the different lines. Thrilling 30 is another one. And if you want to look back in Generations, they actually had the Gamer Edition line before Gamer Edition, because the War for Cybertron, Optimus Prime, Soundwave, Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, and Megatron were all part of the early Generations. In fact, Optimus and Bumblebee were in the first wave. The big push for Fall of Cybertron was entirely in Generations. Hell, I remember back in the day when it was called Chug, which was Classics, Universe, Henkei, and Generation. There was a time when it wasn't called Generations, it was called Classics. There was also a time when we didn't have Voyagers or Leaders unless it was an exclusive. It was entirely based on deluxes. So what's the point I'm getting at? I noticed that some people will reference that Hasbro said there was a set rule in Studio Series that it was going to be entirely live action. But I want to point out, that was back in 2018. It's not 2018 anymore. If you look at the scope of Generations, if you look at the scope of Studio Series, it's ever evolving. And it seems like it's taken over the 86 line because next year the 86 line is going to take over for the 40th anniversary of the 1986 animated film. So that's going to be a big push, but then after that, you pretty much made most of your characters. So I think to replace that, it's going to be the comic edition line. That will probably be around, I want to say 2027. And to those thinking, okay, we're totally alienating the live action movies, I want to point out, we have a lot of live action movie characters, especially from the Michael Bay films, that is still being produced. The listings go off to say The Last Knight Nemesis Prime, we've got The Last Knight Megatron, The Last Knight Hound, which is going to get a Leader Class toy, we got The Last Knight Barricade, so I wouldn't be concerned. I am very curious about the Age of Extinction Dinobots, because so far we just have Grimlock. But for right now, I wouldn't be too worried, because they're still making them. The Fortress Maximus listing sounds awesome, and I'm really hoping that the Soundwave is the purple version of Soundwave. It does feel very weird because Generations had a big push for the comic line, but we're not doing that anymore. That was like more than a decade ago. So if they want to do this, I guess it's fine. Plus, it opens a big opportunity for other characters. Anyone else want the DJD? We already have Tarn, why not do the rest? Pregnant Scorponok could go away. Autobot Megatron. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about the rumor. There's no, like, solid thoughts on this because everything's up in the air. I think at this point with Studio Series, you have to understand that there are things they need to do. It's like the Studio Series 86 Megatron. Yeah, it transforms into a tank, but considering the line, considering what we have to do nowadays, it's just the restrictions of how they do things. It's just things evolve. With that out of the way, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.